Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be making a little Lego cake topper. So for this one we're going to make Wyldstyle from the Lego movie. So we'll just start by cutting out our little image. Now because they've got a black body, I've bought some black ready-made, so I've got some flour and modelling paste here that we're going to use. Knead your modelling paste until it's soft enough to work with. I'm just going to give it a roll to try and get out any cracks. And we're going to roll it out a little bit. So I've kept it really chunky. There's a bit of a crack in the side, but it should be fine because we're going to cut that side bit off. So just check that your figure more or less fits on it. Our arms are a little bit far out, but that's fine. Because what we're going to do is we're going to cut around the basic shape of the body now. So cutting up the sides, which will just remove our little arms, and then across the top of the body. Okay. And we'll cut it out in one piece. So you can use a knife or a pizza cutter. I'm just going to use this blade here. And I'm going to run it across the top for the neck. And we'll do this all the way around. Now if you want, you can cut the body out in separate pieces, which is what I do in quite a lot of my other little Lego videos. And what I'm going to do now is just mark on the little lines that go across the legs. So if I move this to one side, I can see that she's got a line here where her waistband is, another little line here. I'll just zoom in a second, see if you can see. You might not be able to see very well with it being black. There's a line here, one here, and then her legs dip here. So what we're going to do is we'll create the shape here and down to where the feet are, because it tends to lengthen the modelling paste a little bit. So what you'll find is if you cut it first and then squash bits, the legs end up a little bit longer, so we'll squash them first. So I'm just going to take the more blunt end of my knife and put a little line across for the waistband, like so. And then we'll put in a little indentation there. And this bit on the Lego is a little bit curved, so we're going to rub a modelling tool in. And again at the top. So what we want to do now is flatten this little area here. I'm just going to use my finger to start with by pushing along there. And again, if you're not sure where to push, just hold your little piece of paper on and you're going to do it up to where the top of the feet are, which again is not very clear on here, but they come to about here. So we'll just rub a little bit further down. So what I'll do now is I'll put that back on where it was before. And where I've stretched it out a little bit, the side of the legs, I'll run this back through. And now this time we'll take off the bottom where the feet go. Just make sure that it stands up on its own. And then we just need to add the little slit between the legs now. So we're just going to pull out this centre bit. I'll just pull it backwards. And then just neaten it back off with your modelling tool, pushing it back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use a cocktail stick to run through the body so that we've got something to place the head onto. So if you imagine your head's going to there, the cocktail stick doesn't want to be longer than the top of the head. So I'll need to take a little bit off so that it doesn't poke out above the top. Now, if you know your toppers are going to be eaten, you can use spaghetti instead, or you can get away without putting a stick through the top. So we'll go directly through the middle, pushing it in. So I've used the point to push it in, and then I'll turn it around and put the other end in. Again, don't push too far that it comes out of the bottom of the legs. And again, just check that fits on there without the stick poking out the top. I've got a shadow grey one to start with. And what I'll do is just mix that with a tiny bit of water. You can mix with alcohol if you prefer. And we're going to paint these two side pieces on first. And then what we'll do is we'll paint on her zip now. We won't be able to get the zip identical. So what I'll do is try and put a mark down the centre where a zip would go. And then we're just going to put lots of tiny little lines running up alongside that line that we've just put on. I've got a sky blue and a baby pink that we're going to paint the patterning on our outfit with. And then it just goes part way down her leg. And just a tiny bit across this side of the body. So if, like me, you're a bit impatient and you can't wait for the blue to dry before putting your pink on, just make sure you don't mix them together. So try and paint alongside it rather than through it. otherwise you'll end up with them smudging and creating a purple. So I've rolled thin a piece of yellow. It's literally just for this little sort of triangle that's at the top of her neck. So it only wants to be small, so we'll cut a straight line for the top, and then we'll just cut a little triangle. We'll just check size wise. Mine's a bit bigger probably than it needs to be, so we'll take it down a little bit more. So I've just put a bit of water on the back of that, and we'll just push that in place at the top like that. Now for a hoodie we're going to need a bit of black again, but what we're going to do is we're going to stand her up, so be careful you don't catch the front while it's still wet. She's covered in corn flour at the back, so once she's dried I'll be able to dust that off properly. So for the hoodie we've got a bit of black that we'll just roll long and thin. Ooh. Take out that bit of yellow that's got stuck in it. And I'm going to bring it into a little bit of a triangle shape like that. Trying to get out any of the cracks that we've got in. I'm just going to push my finger in to create a little bit of a dent for the hood at the back. I'll just trim it down a little bit. And we're going to start thinning out these end bits. So the hood wants to come around the back, and these end pieces want to come around the front and down the yellow bit that we've just added. We'll just put some little lines across the hood. I didn't actually print off a picture of the back, so if you want, print off a picture of her from the back so you can see what she looks like. She might even have colour inside her hood actually. So we're going to push this round so that it's on the shoulders. And then what we'll do is we're going to pull it round at the front. And I'm just going to put some indentations in. I'm just using the back of my knife. So now we want to give her a neck. So we're going to roll out a little bit of yellow. We don't want it ultra thin. And I'm just going to take a small circle cutter. I'm going to put a little bit of water on the bottom of that disc, and we're going to slot it over the circle that we've put on. The circle, what am I on about? The cocktail stick. So that's gone over the cocktail stick like that. So again, out of the yellow, start with a ball. Try and hold it between two fingers and twist between the others so that you're getting that nice Lego head shape like that. So what we'll do is we'll push this in place again, wetting the top of the neck and then pushing the head down in place. So just so you can see what it looks like from the front, okay? So I'm going to move her to one side while we make her some arms. So we've got some black now for the arm. We're just going to roll it out into a nice slim shape. Trying to keep it reasonably even now. I've printed off pictures of her little arms. Mine are a little bit fatter. If you're not sure for size, just hold it against the body and see what it looks like. So I'm going to use the arm that I've cut off to judge the length. So I'm going to cut it about there. It wants to just be short of the end of the body. Got another one the same length. In fact, we'll round off the end a little bit first, and then we'll cut this one to match. Now I'm going to cut a little triangle off the top of each one so that it sits a little bit closer to her body at the top. And then what we're going to do is put a slight indentation partway down for where we're going to have the fold in her arms. So once you've got those to the right size, just put a bit of water on the inside of each one. And then we're going to push these in place on the side of our body. So just like that on the side of the body. So for the hands, take a ball that we're going to stretch out a little bit, squash down, and then we're simply going to curl it around like that for our little Lego hand. Just check it's a similar size by holding it above the little picture that you printed off. And then we're just going to stick them to the bottom of each arm with a small black circle. So a bit of water on there, we're going to push it onto the bottom of the arm. Just going to mix the water in with it a little bit to make it nice and sticky. So onto the bottom of the arm, and then we'll push the hand onto there like that. If it looks like it's not going to stay in place, we'll prop something underneath it till it dries. Now, I'm just going to pop a pin in, because it only leaves a small hole that's not really very noticeable. but just make sure you do remember to take that pin out once it has dried. So just repeat the same on the other side. So the other thing we're going to do, once you've got both arms on in place, we're going to put a little bit of painting just on the side of the arm in exactly the same way that we did on the body, with a bit of the pink and the blue. So now that the head's on, we're going to paint her face, but what I'm going to do is just rest her on a bag of corn flour, because I don't want to squash her hood. So we're going to use a bit of baby pink for her lips, and then we're going to need black and white for her eyes. So I'll start with pink for her lips. Again, just make sure you've got a small thin brush, and just use the little face cut out as a guideline so I can see that her mouth's reasonably close to the bottom of her face. And I'm going to try and paint it so it's slightly to one side. And then I'm going to take a really small amount of black and run that through the middle. This is where I get shaky hands. So next for the eyes, we want 2 round circles. And in this expression she's pulling, we're going to put another little black line just above her eye for her eyelashes. Same on the other one. Now it's always more difficult at the other side. And now for her eyebrows, which come quite far down close to her eye. So we're going to take the tiniest bit of white for her eyes. I'm going to try and half that to create 2 tiny little balls. So what I'll do is I'll try and get them to stick on the back of my modelling tool, and then push those in place up near the tops of her eyes. And the whites in her eyes just make her look that little bit better. Okay, so what I want now is for her to dry, so I'm going to leave her overnight before I actually add her hair. And I almost forgot, she's got little freckles, so we'll give her some tiny little freckles. Again, just making sure you've got a thin brush. Just leave it overnight then to dry. So we're going to move on to her hair. So I'm going to start with a ball of the black, and I'm just going to kind of try and hollow it out a little bit so that it fits around her head. And then we'll put a little indentation in where we want her to have a bit of a parting. So what I'm going to do is place the cap onto her head. Now you want to press it down so it comes down at the back. I realise you can't see it very well at the back, so I do apologise. And again at the front. Now, if it's a bit big, we'll just trim a little bit off and then push that back down again, rounding it back off. And then we're just going to put a couple of hairlines in. And again, we'll put a couple in at the front. And some of these at the front we'll then end up painting up. So we're going to put a bit of painting again on with the blue and the pink. So we're just going to paint up to that hairline. And the same in pink. Okay, and then we just want to stick a little ponytail on, which we'll stand her up for. And we'll start with a teardrop, and we'll just curl around the little end of it for her pigtail. And we're just going to put some little hairlines in from the chunky bit coming downwards. And then we're just going to sit that on a bit of water and push that on to the top of her head, just slightly off to one side. Give a good push down, like so. And I'm just going to paint on her arm because I forgot to do that earlier. And I'll put up a picture of her finished so you can see, but that's it. You just need to let her dry, otherwise you'll be getting mucky fingerprints of pink and blue. Thank you for watching.
If you liked this video and would like to see more, please click on the images of the other videos suggested. Also, please do subscribe to my channel using the button at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. You can also visit my cake website and my Facebook page to see more cakes and ideas.